This week on the ZonaZoo Sports Report, an Arizona football preview, and a recap of Arizona volleyball. Hello everyone and welcome to this week's edition of the ZonaZoo Sports Report. I'm Maddy Rundin alongside Ben Gabrielson. And Ben, the Wildcat football team had a much needed bye weekend this past weekend. Obviously a lot of injuries to a lot of key players, and I hear that you have an injury update for us.
Well, you've heard correctly because starting linebacker Brooks Reed is probable for this week against Washington. He sat out in street clothes for that game against Oregon State. His ankle was what was bothering him. Nick Grigsby, the top rusher for this 2009-2010 Wildcats team, is also probable, but he said late Saturday that he is going to play and not let that shoulder bother him. So his backup Keul Antolin is also listed as probable with his ankle, and he's expected to play as well. And also number one wide receiver DeLaShawn Dean with his deep thigh bruise is also probable. So really the entire team is really probably going to play on Saturday.
That is some good news, definitely, for a much depleted Wildcat squad. And of course the Wildcats are going to need every offensive and defensive weapon they can get this weekend when they travel to Washington to take on the Huskies, who, as we know, did beat USC in a shocker, and they did lose to Notre Dame in overtime this past weekend. So needless to say, Washington has come a long way under new head coach Steve Sarkisian since not winning a single game last season.
That's right, and it's easy for him to do when he's got arguably the best player in the Pac-10, Jake Locker, to do it. He's leading the conference in total yards, and he just went off for 281 passing yards last week. They did lose in overtime to Notre Dame in South Bend, but he is probably the best weapon they obviously have there in Seattle. So another thing to watch for. Nick Foles, though, is leading the conference in passing efficiency, so it'll be a good battle of quarterbacks.
I agree. And Ben, adding to that injury list that you talked about, are starting offensive linemen Mike Diaz and Von Dotze, who were both out with concussions, but they are slated to return against Washington. And that'll give Nick Foles some much-needed protection in the pocket and kind of give a little more power to that offensive line, who have only given up 3 sacks this season.
Yeah, very much so, and they're the top of the conference in that statistical category. Another matchup to really watch for as you're watching it at home, that Washington third down offense versus the Cats third down defense. Now, the Cats are last in the conference in third down defense, so it will be very interesting because Washington, of course, is number 1 in the conference in third down offense. So it'll be really key to see if that defense can get Nick Foles the ball in good field position and turn the ball over, keep Jake Locker on the sideline.
That's right, Ben. It should be quite a battle, especially because Arizona is 11th in the nation in their rushing attack, while Washington is 9th in the Pac-10 in rushing defense. So the Cats definitely have to capitalize on that statistic if they want to win up in Washington this weekend.
That's right. It's going to be another big road test for Nick Foles. He did succeed in that win in Corvallis against Oregon State. This will be another just very tough road test in Seattle. But let's hope they fare a little better than the women's volleyball team, who was ranked 18th in the nation as they went up to Washington this past weekend to face Washington State and Washington and got swept in both matches. So
kind of a rough weekend.
Yes. Hopefully that's not a foreshadow of what is about to become Saturday, but we will see as the Washington Huskies take on the Arizona Wildcats Saturday in Seattle. We'll be back next week with the highlights, news, and analysis from that game. But thanks for watching this week's edition of the ZonaZoo Sports Report. I'm Ben Gabrielson alongside Maddy Rundin. Bear down, Wildcats.